morning. I'd like to welcome everyone and thank everyone for coming this morning for a notice of a special meeting. Laguna Monterey Water District Board of Directors, notice of a workshop, October 10th, 2017. Notice is hereby given of a workshop of the Board of Directors of the district to be held at 105 Port Road, Port Isabel, Texas, on the 10th day of October 2017 at the hour of 10 a.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the district on October 5th, 2017 at 2:30 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551-041-551-050. We do have the presence of a quorum. At this time, we have all the board members present. May I please have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to invite you to bow your heads and to ask the Lord to be with us this morning and give us the wisdom and discernment that we need to understand this project and act up in the better benefit of the district and our customers and all our citizens that get affected or benefited with this project. I thank you, Lord, for all your goodness and give us your blessing this morning to do the proper business. In the name of Jesus, I pray, amen.
Amen.
Moving on to item number 3, presentation by Ferguson Meter Program for fiscal year 2017 through 2018. That's a nice new podium. Podium's not it.
Are we ready to do the introduction?
Yes.
Okay. Over there, here. Here?
Oh, they can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay. Good morning to Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I would like to start off with presentation of Mr. Fred Quintero and Karen Ellis. They're coming here from Ferguson. We've been having a few workshops, as you all, most of you know, and the purpose of this meeting is so you all can have a better idea what is it that we're trying to do here. They are bringing an offer which is the lowest bidder of the RFP that it was posted back in May. We have several presentations. We've been meeting with the professional committee, with previous board members and the new board member as well, is so a little bit aware of what's going on. This is a lengthy process that has been taking us almost a year since we started dealing with different vendors, and we came up, to narrow down the offers basically that the other vendors were putting in considerations. I think that they are presenting the best offer, and it's up to you to have the final decision. What is it that our district is gonna take? My recommendation, and as I have discussed with the staff and with Mr. Galvan, is that we need an upgrade to our system. The upgrade, knowing that the newest technology that is available, this technology can give us the access to water leak detection, not only for the customer portal, and also the water leak detection for the distribution system. In this year, we've been having over 30 water leak detections, that if we had this type of system, that's something that it can be taken care of before it gets, to a massive type of water loss.
You said 30?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then our customer service orders that we have for meter issues, it's over 5,000 in this current fiscal year. That means that currently we're spending a lot of on operations and maintenance, taking care of meters that are not being picked up by the system, because our system is being obsolete for 2 years already. So I believe that the wisest solution will be to upgrade the system, because if we invest in a system that it's already obsolete, eventually it's gonna be more spending, and I think that at this point it will be kind of like taking the opportunity and might as well, do the upgrade. And we have discussed this in the past, and of course, we can also revise the financials and see, how this is affordable. I think it is. And I do understand that there's some other issues, but I think that this is something that at this point it's a priority. And I will let Mr. Quintero and Ms. Ellis, to tell you about the system software that they're presenting. And we're not proposing like a full change of installation of all the meters. If anything, it will be only the ones that are retrofitted that wouldn't be compatible with the new system. And the biggest difference, it will be that we won't have all those issues that we're having right now. That's all I have to say.
I really appreciate the background. I'm more interested in hearing the workshop presentation than staff sales pitch right now. We have plenty of time.
That's it.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say anything else.
Okay, how are you?
Go get them. Good morning. Thank you guys for being here again. We appreciate that you guys came. I know that we have kind of touched on some of the benefits, and we kind of ran short of time on being able to show you some of the software and those type things. For those of you that are kind of new to the board, and maybe for those of you that have been here, we kind of wanted to run through, back through some of those benefits and kind of how the system works. If that would benefit you guys to know a little bit more about it, if you feel you're comfortable with it, then we can go straight on into any questions you have. We have a return on investment workup, that type of thing. So we're kind of open to, if you want to go through the benefits, I'd love to go through them with you again and kind of show you that. But I know we went over it a little bit. We just didn't totally get through all that.
We're here to give you the time you deserve, and we really appreciate y'all being here.
Yeah, you bet. So, okay, then I'm going to run through some of this. Some of this we can kind of go on through, but one of the things that we talked about, and I think is very important, and something that we're very proud of, is customer service is very important to us, as we know it is to you and your constituents. So we make sure that we involve the local branch. We have Frank here today, who is your distribution side salesperson. So he does all of your repair, maintenance, pipes, things, and works with Joel and the guys on that. So he's here weekly, every other week. He's in the area, and then we have a branch that's also in the Mission Store.
Where's Frank located physically?
I'm in McAllen.
McAllen. So you have quick access for service.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then we also,
inventory, too.
And inventory, yes, and we'll stock inventory. Ricardo, who was here at the last meeting, he lives in Donna, and he's our branch manager. So he's also worked with the guys here, and so he's very involved as well. Then we have myself, who I'm here lately a lot, more than usual. Not just for you guys, for other ones, but I'm usually here at least once a month. Sometimes it's a couple times a month, and I'm out of the Austin area. But if you need me, I can be here. So, and then we have our manufacturer support, which is Mueller. Fred's located in Dallas. The plant that the meters are produced in is located in North Carolina. So it's pretty easy
American
access.
made.
Yes, American made. So.
But more importantly, above and beyond what she just said, the reason we picked Ferguson as a distribution for us is because they've taken on they've taken on the task of having a warehouse, 2 warehouses. There's one in Texas in Irving, not Irving, Euless, and then there's one in Georgia. And so what they do is they store more than about $1.5 million worth of inventory. So if he's running short on anything, they can get him product within a couple days. Because me as a manufacturer, as soon as I get an order, it goes into queue, and it takes 4 to 6 weeks to manufacture that product. So what they've done is they've cut that down to 2 to 3 days.
We touched on that last time. And
Yes, we did.
You brought that up, and I made the comment then, essentially, that we can cut down on our inventory, relying on y'all to have the inventory staff with good communication.
That's correct.
Am I correct in
That's
that?
absolutely correct.
Thank you.
And that's our goal, right? We want to make sure you guys have, or the city has, inventory as quickly as possible.
So we're constantly ordering, so we'll keep local inventory, and once you order, then they'll turn around and order from our depot. Once that's ordered and shipped out, the depot turns around and orders it from Mueller. So we constantly have that circle moving of your product.
I'm going to ask a question now before I forget it later, and that will be the purchase of meters that, typically there's a bulk benefit for buying in bulk, but at the same time, when we're getting into discussions about purchase of meters or our meter reader apparatuses, that would be something I assume that, but we'll touch on it later. I always like to be able to buy the best price, be it bulk or be it an agreement.
And what we'll do is, for the price that we have quoted you on the RFP, we'll hold that for a year, because we want to make sure that you get everything, there's going to be things that come up that maybe there was a meter that wasn't on the system, or it was a meter that wasn't being used and we didn't change it at the time and they moved it in or something like that. So we'll hold that pricing, and then we order in bulk through our depot so that we can keep that pricing moving. So even though he may order 20 or 30, in the depot, we've ordered pallets of that to help us with that pricing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you get the benefit, right, of the large quantities ordered. And then again, we hold that price for a good year. And so that way, and if anything needs to be extended, we can do that.
That always makes me a little nervous. We'll hold it for a year, then that's like, get ready for next year. for making up for the.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, one of the things that we've been talking about is we want y'all to be our poster board, so to speak, customer down here. And so that's the last thing we want to do is we want to make sure you guys are happy and talk about our solution, right?
No more questions on that, I want to move on. So this is a system overview, and basically with the system that we offer, it's more than just a meter reading system. We want to make sure that you're getting a system that you can continue to grow in, and you can do other things besides just read meters. It's an investment. So we want you to invest in something that's going to give you a lot of capabilities as you move forward in your utility. So with our two-way radio, which is truly one that you can talk to, you can actually do on-demand reads and have that read back within seconds. You can firmware upgrade it, like you said on your iPhone. When you walk out of the store 2 weeks later, they say, hey, we need to upgrade. You don't really know that it's happening, but it's upgraded the next day when you pull it up. And we can do the same thing with our radio. We don't use the LoRa one. That's a LoRa chip that's in the radio. That's a long-range, low-power radio. So our battery life is true 20 years. It's 10 years full, 10 years prorated warranty. And with the way that we do the system and they test it, it's a true 20-year warranty on that.
What does WAN stand for?
Wide area network.
Wide area network.
So there's two benefits to that technology. First benefit, as she has explained, is the low power, long range. So this will give you a solution that's valid for 20 years, right? Second solution is that it's an open architecture. This endpoint is very unique compared to our competitors. We have actually developed a solution that you can bring other verticals into this network and utilize that technology or those sensors or those items to come under this network. And now you have one command center monitoring all this solution. So the first benefit is what she's talking about, long range, low power, guarantees a 20-year battery life. The second is it's an open architecture.
And we heard other presentations, they were suggesting they're going to use cellular network for communication.
Yeah.
How do these two compare?
So there's one benefit that I see that cellular brings over us, and that is no infrastructure, right? You're using cell towers. But I'm staying on the island, and I can't even get any cellular service out of my hotel. So that's a downside. The upside to us is that we have a huge bandwidth. So we can bring in all these other ancillary products and let you control all this stuff, including this LoRa technology that if they, for example, waste management or something else decides to come into that technology, you can include it into this. So the benefit that we do versus theirs is we've got a huge bandwidth, and they've got a limited bandwidth. On top of that, you're going 3G, then you go 4G, then you go 5G, so that's constantly moving. This is not. This is stable.
Reliability of the LoRaN.
So it's amazing how many industries are getting into it. I think there's what did we see, about 300?
So this is an industry radio communication
Yes, sir.
process. It's It's not proprietary
That's correct.
to y'all.
That's correct.
So it's just,
Yeah, we
New industry.
We purposely brought that chip into this for that specific reason. We want to give you guys a forward-thinking endpoint.
we
right?
all know how unreliable the cell services are. We all know how unreliable the internet is because somebody cut a cable in Dallas or wherever,
Yeah.
and it just knocks us out totally. So
Yeah,
will this give us better dependability based on your experience
absolutely.
over?
I just put it right.
So, one of the things about the meter that we're offering you is it's a migratable endpoint. So what that means is we're going to deploy it and it's going to go into a fixed space where the reads come to the office. But at any given time, let's say a hurricane situation or something is down with a collector or your electricity or whatever, you are going to also have the equipment where if you needed to, you could go drive by and get that
And pick up
signal.
the radio.
Because the radio will detect who's trying to collect their signal. The radio is a two-way communication, so it's waiting for someone to say, I have your read, you can stop sending it out now. So if that collector that it's trying to get to doesn't say, I have your read, then it's going to keep trying to find somewhere to send that. And so when you drive by, it's going to send the signal over. So what's great in this area, we hope it never happens, but if there's a hurricane or weather or something like that, you're going to have the option to be able to drive by and get those reads while you're waiting for power and your infrastructure to be back up and ready to run.
So that LoRa chip is
What,
amazing.
what kind of, what kind of range do they have?
It depends on your topography. It depends on where the radio is in the box. We've done a prop study. We took all your meters and all the towers and things, assets that you had to show where collectors could go. And Mueller puts it into a system where it says, okay, to cover all the meters that you have and get reads, these are the collectors and the repeaters and things that you need to cover that. So we've made sure, and that actually gave you some extra, if you have growing, you actually have some extra growth in that too, to make sure that you get all the reads and coverage in. And on a day like today, sometimes you'll get a better read further away because radio frequency goes up and then out. With the rain, sometimes it'll make it go out further. So it just kind of varies on where it is, the topography, sometimes what the
So
weather is on the range.
your little crystal chip you got in there, supposed to cover from Laguna Vista all the way to the island, no problem.
So what we've done is we've got, the prop study calls for 7 total collectors and 7 repeaters, and I'm covering all 3 cycles. I'm giving you 100% coverage plus a little extra.
Yeah.
So if there's any growth, that'll be included as well.
Because my understanding of this is we're going to have one central hub here or wherever that's going to be monitoring all this data. And is that dependent on, are we dependent on the capacity of this chip to where we're going to install this office or where it's going to be?
No. So the community.
Can it read it from anywhere,
It's
in other
cloud.
words?
Yeah,
Remember?
it goes to the cloud.
Oh, okay.
So that's where it goes. So the chip sends it to the collector. So how this works,
So the radios are actually connected to the cloud?
in a sense, yeah. And let me
Okay.
see if I can help you with this.
Okay.
So the radio itself has a transmitter that interrogates the register every hour. Okay? Stores 24 of those, and then once a day it sends that 24 reads, right? Every day I'm reading an hour, or a full day. And then I send it to Karen. Karen's my collector. Karen now is hooked up to the cloud. So now I, as a city and yourself, as long as you have internet access, you're anywhere, you can access that information. Now, because it's a true two-way, you can submit a request and say, I'm at my desk, and I'll say, Karen, I want to read that specific meter right now. Right now, not 5 hours later or 24 hours later, right now. So I'll send a request to Karen, Karen sends it to the meter, and it comes back, and within 10 to 15 seconds, I've got that information. The true two-way communication because of that endpoint and the technology that we've built.
So
Does that help?
the data we're getting is actually coming from the network provider
It's
or a
coming,
repeater? Is
it's coming from the collector, right? So
Okay.
the meter sends it to the collector, and then the collector sends it over to the internet or the cloud, and then you can
So we're not
access it
actually getting
from
readings
there.
like our if we go read a meter here, it's not actually coming directly here, it's going through a collector.
A collector,
Okay.
If
Which is
Seawolf-
cloud-based.
which is cloud.
So
Okay.
if customer has, if customer calls, has an issue with the bill, they can get that information in about 30 seconds.
So you're
Now, let me ask you,
correct.
one more, what about the radios? Is that an extra cost, or
No, that's
the built-in
that's
system.
included?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all one unit. So
And
you
are
have the
they,
meter, the
is
register,
it something
and
that we can, or you say the firmware does get upgraded automatically on those radios? We don't have to do anything with
You
that?
don't.
And
No.
how long are they good for?
the radios,
Yeah.
20
Oh,
years.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we get a tidal surge on the island and seawater goes over these things, will they be ruined?
No.
I see.
They're made to be.
Saltwater pro.
Hardest, yeah. They're completely made to be, and if they're under warranty, I'll replace them. But they are made to be withstand, they're completely encapsulated. Saltwater, saltwater ruins cars, right? But over time, that can happen. But if it's a surge and cleaned out, we should be fine. We should completely be fine.
With the district installing them, is there any liability of the district?
Not at all. No. We will know if they did it wrong. We literally will know.
I'm thinking more of scraping a wire.
Gotcha.
Things like
If that's
that.
the case, we still will know. And here's the reason why. We get a lot of data from through the UI, which is the user interface. We can see battery power, we can see if it's installed backwards, we can see all kinds of stuff. So we will know.
It's like my car this morning told me to tighten the gas cap.
Yeah.
You got a smart car.
Smarter than me, I didn't tighten it.
But one of the things too, that's in the quote that we gave you is, we have an on-site project management team, and one of the things that they will do is they will make sure that they work with the guys to, if later on they have to install a meter or change out a register or read or whatever, that they are comfortable, or someone here is responsible and comfortable enough to show someone how to do that.
So the best, in the best interest of both parties, whether it's the utility and the
we read on the
manufacturer,
phone and we need to build
is that the
on the
utility have
18.
knowledge,
So then
working
we
knowledge of
have,
how the product works, right?
one,
They need to
two,
go out there, and if
three,
they do need
four,
to address
five,
something, they
six.
can
Oh,
address
actually,
it
we are planning
quickly.
that thing.
And so what we do,
2
we
weeks.
train the utilities
Yeah.
on how to install, manage, diagnose, and just basically own
So
the
well,
system.
actually, to
So
read, it
they
was
will
only
be
5 days
professionals
because
at it.
it's one.
What's your experience
This
with
one is just to build.
the scalability, that
So-
they offer?
Yeah.
Where you've installed them, how does that get used, or how do they get implemented? The different things you can add on, different types of services.
It varies with every utility, because every utility has unique challenges. One of the things that we know that is a challenge here right now is your distribution side leak detection. So that is something that can be added on, and it's going to be a benefit to what you guys are looking at and some of the concerns that you're having right now. So that's definitely something that we talked about. Remote disconnect meter, that's another benefit, not only for those that are habitual not paying their bill, but maybe for your move-ins, move-outs, instead of sending somebody over every time or that type thing. And then,
Or second homeowners,
Yeah. Yeah.
which we have a lot of.
ability, which in this area you have it, yeah, quite a few.
That other one you mentioned was, is that the My Echo?
Yes, sir.
Is that what that is?
That's
Can
the
you
leak
elaborate a
detection.
little bit on that,
Yeah.
how that works?
We have a-
Just
keep-
talk about it.
Okay.
Feels- it feels
Go back to
better.
it, okay. So the leak detection system, it's distribution side leak detection, and what that is there is a node that actually goes onto the fire hydrant. So what those nodes do is they correlate. So you don't have to have it on every fire hydrant. Again, we would do a prop study to find out where you would need those to make sure we're getting the coverage in the area that you want to cover. You don't have to go full blown. You can do it in the areas that you know are older pipe or the older infrastructure. And what those do is they correlate. So the nodes talk to each other, they set a baseline, and then they say, okay, well, the next few days we heard an anomaly. Something's not how it should be here. So then they'll start talking to each other and say, okay, did you hear it or did you hear it? And then they'll go back and forth, then they'll start narrowing it down, and they can narrow down where the leak is within 10 feet, a table's length of an area. So one, you can know where the leak is and not have to dig up a whole city block to find a small leak. And two, you can prioritize as you're looking at the leaks. If it's staying about the same, but you have one over here that keeps getting bigger every day, you can do your work orders where you're being more efficient. Let's address this one, and then we can come back to this one. So you can be proactive instead of reactive when, the street's flooded or something like that.
And do the nodes work better a certain distance from each other, or do they have to be a certain distance from each other?
It'll all depend on the pipe that's underneath, because the pipe's different, it has different sounds. It'll depend again on the topography. So again, we would do that prop study to say, okay, you have clay pipe here, and you have 12 hydrants. You might just need nodes on 6 of those, depending on the area. So that we would make sure that we cover the area to get you the best reading for that area.
Let me ask the staff a question. Well, is leak detection an issue with the district? I mean, how many leaks we getting
I think this year we've had like 60-plus leaks, if I'm not mistaken.
in the main lines or just in the distribution to the
On
resident?
the distribution and main line mostly. But the leak detection would have been great about 3 weeks ago, I think it was. We had a leak in a remote area underneath the dock for at least 3 or 4 days. Noe called me from the plant and, hey, something's going on because we're pumping 6.2 million. We should be down to about 4. We went and checked, nothing. It was underneath the dock. It was a 6-inch line that came apart. Not until somebody reported it did we find out. That was like 4 days later.
So your node would have caught that?
Yes.
We're going to let you know, say,
And-
something's not right here.
And
So it
that-
catches it on the transmission, well, I'm gonna say the transmission lines, the main lines, but even to the small feeder lines to even a residence, a small line?
So the residential in the house is caught by the meter.
Okay,
And then the distribution from 12-inch down to 2-inch, we can catch with this.
okay, but you won't catch it before the meter.
Yes, we
Yes.
can catch it before the meter.
This is
Okay.
before the meter.
You can catch it
Distribution's
from
out
the
to the
meter reader.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So it reads both sides.
So it'll hear the noise, it'll hear the anomaly. And so what happens is as soon as the baseline, there's a difference in the baseline, and then it correlates, just like they have to do. They have to go out with ground mics. And so she's a person, I'm a person, and we're just walking down the street trying to figure out where this leak's at. This is doing it for you. It's completely automating this and narrowing it down to a specific spot where that leak is. But what's nice is you know at birth versus, you have to find like somebody called in 4 or 5 days later and then you gotta go hunting for it. This will tell you at birth. So as soon as the anomaly hits, it sends that what we call a POI, point of interest.
And will that take and narrow it down to the location of the point of
Absolutely.
interest?
Yeah, so this slide here, if you notice, there's a correlated between 3 sensors, and then it pinpointed the exact leak. You can go out to the software and click on that specific sensor, and it will say the leak is 400 feet from me, and vice versa. And it'll say 800 feet from her. It'll pinpoint where that specific leak's at.
But what I do like about it is that you don't have to dig the whole street that we've done before.
Yeah.
Because you see water coming out of the pavement, it doesn't not necessarily go straight up.
Yeah.
It goes to the weakest point. So we start digging where it's coming out, and then we start until we tear the whole street. And we've done that before, so.
Several times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of extra
That's a lot,
labor expense.
exactly.
The extra cost.
And a lot of
Imagine the
cost
cost
for
of that.
repairs.
Plus you didn't know the leak was there until it started coming up. So
Right.
it
Exactly.
takes a while to get it,
So the node's responding to the source of the leak more than it is the traffic or flow of the leak.
Right.
Yeah, because it's hearing that it's not flowing correctly like it was.
Now, if you guys want to get into the weeds, I can tell you exactly how it works, but
You told me what time it is. That's perfect. This is terrible.
But it's a cutting technology. Our company went and bought this company called Ecologics several years ago, like 6 years ago, and implemented this technology into our network. So your question about scalability, once you have that network up, you can start putting this stuff into it, and that's the nice part about it.
And that just makes it more refined for leak detection, I'm assuming, the more units that you have in place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you would come in and, sorry, you would come in and kind of give us an analysis of what you think that would, function for the district at a particular area. And then from there, as need came up, it would be increased on the system.
That's the ideal. So, you've got the network up through your meters. At any given time after that, you guys want to increase the scalability to this solution, you can just say, hey, Fred and Karen, give us a prop study of this core quadrant of the city. We want to know, we know we've got a lot of ductile iron and cast iron pipe that's old and brittle or whatever. We're constantly, let's get a system in there. And that way, it can be monitored 24/7. Let's get it back to where you were at. You were still talking about the system. I don't know that we need to go
I
in.
think we're
So there, I
covered,
think,
yeah.
we talked about future-proof. So one of the things, guys, that this brings to the table is, we've heard what the city has issues with. They purchased a technology that's been outdated for the last couple of years. Their software's outdated, their endpoints are outdated. This is an endpoint that's going to be smart and continue to grow with you. So there's no outdated scenario. That conversation is not going to ever be had with this endpoint because of the updating and future-proof. Apart from that, Mueller, what we do is anything that we promote in the future. Right now, we've developed a pressure sensor. That is going to be implemented into this network in the future. So that's something that can be added. And so there's a lot of tools that the utility, the water district, can actually have that we're starting to build and cover. We've been in the water industry since the 1850s, so we know water, right? We do hydrants, valves, brass, bodies, everything, pipe and all that. So we understand their needs, so we're building all these tools so they can have it under one hand. Well, so do you guys, the other option is to continue going this route, or I can go into a consumer portal, show you guys what the customers would be able to see, move on to this, or move on to the
Wherever you
software?
think you need to.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the software.
software.
Software?
Yeah,
All right.
I think that's important because I know customer service, you guys want to give to your customers is important. And our consumer portal is very nice. It's laid out very easy for anyone to learn, and it gives them a lot of information to manage their own account.
So the main thing that I always like to show on the consumer portal is that your customers will have access to it on their phone. And so here's what they would have access to. And if you look at this, and you can pass that by, there's accounting, there's billing, there's my account set up. They can set up their alerts on there. They can pay a bill on here. We've even gone as far, because we have a remote disconnect meter, to do a pay-as-you-go process, which is very unique. Nobody in this industry is doing that. We're the first ones to come up with a pay-as-you-go.
Everybody gets this, or they have to pay extra?
Everybody gets that. So anybody, so.
If the district says they want to have it.
Bingo.
Or sets the parameters of the information.
That's correct. So what we've done is we've quoted literally 100% for every customer list. If they want to trim it down, we can trim it down. But that's what we did. We quoted that. And so I've got it on the software. I can show it to you on the laptop. But I also thought it would be nice to show you that your customers, everybody has a phone, right? So they can actually access their information on their phone at any given time. Oh, sorry.
Just answer
But
it.
it's actually, it works.
Had a guy in this, he had a submarine, that's funny, like a morning.
Here, you want
No,
it?
I was just looking, I was pushing buttons to see what it was showing.
What was
me.
going on? With the consumer portal, what they would do is, you want to pull that up, Fred, or you want?
Yeah.
I'm just going to what they would do is sign up through their email. So just like you would do on your bank or whatever, you enter your email, set your own unique password, and then you're up and running. And there are things that you guys can go in if you don't want them to see certain things and
What problems or liability is the district going to have with cybersecurity related to?
The thing of it is the only information that we gather to read a meter is a meter number. There's no names or anything, and GPS coordinates.
So if somebody hacked it, all they could see is
They're just gonna
somebody's
get numbers.
water.
Where the water meter is.
Yeah, but it's just gonna have a meter number and the GPS coordinates, so it's not gonna have any names or any, pertinent information to say who's at that address, so.
So the worst case scenario, it's a new field out there, is that somebody could get they could get my meter and watch it and know when I'm not home.
Well.
You didn't think of any scenario.
And watch the usage on the
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is all encrypted, right? It's 128 encrypted from the meter to the collector, and then from the collectors to 256. And then, of course, this is a secure site that, you will have your own ID and your own password. Granted, they're breaking into, all the stores and banks and all that stuff. But in the lifetime that I've been within this industry, I've not seen that happen. Could it happen? Theoretically, I'm
daily.
sure.
What frequency is it on?
902, 928.
902.
It's a 902, 928 megahertz, and this chip, that LoRa chip. What it does, so we used to do frequency hopping spread spectrum,
Right.
to where we jumped across different frequencies all the time. Now what we do is we take advantage of all 50 and we shoot it across, and we break it up, and then we reassemble it. So the security on it is pretty strong.
And the great thing about it is if you're gonna go out of town, you can let the utility know and send them a message through the portal. You can call them. Hey, I'm gonna be out of town for between this date and this date. They can go into the software and put a soft disconnect, which means there's still water running through it, but they know that you're not supposed to be using a lot of water. So if that happens while you're gone, not only will you get an alert on your email through your consumer portal, they'll also get an alert to say, hey, this meter's on a soft disconnect, and now there's a lot of water running through it.
And if I recall, you can take and do a total shut off
Yes, on a remote disconnect, you can do a total shut off.
and turn off.
So for those cases where you're gone, or somebody, we've had it happen, come over and wash their car while you're out of town on your meter, they're gonna know, and if you're on the consumer portal, you'll also know.
Okay, all right, so what you're looking at here is the consumer portal. This is what the customer is going to have access to, right? They are going to see these tiles. These tiles are set up however they wish. They can move this over and customize the tiles as to however they want to go. If you notice, the first one on the left is what they owe, their current bill. This customer hasn't paid the bill in years, it seems like, right? To have a $2,000 bill. But they also have a water usage, the conservation. Outages, it's probably the terminology would be best to put as leaks. We can customize that when we implement this to the utility. And then they have a compare. The nice part about compare is they can compare my house to Karen's house. We both have, 3 adults in the house, or 2 adults and a child, or whatever, same size square footage. I can compare that. I can compare it to my zip code, to maybe the next town. So there's some comparisons there. Notifications is basically a two-way communication where a customer can notify the utility, hey, I've seen this, or what's going on with my bill, why is it this high? And then there's paperless billing option, and then my account. So these are the tiles that they'll be able to see and customize, but what's more important is up on top, it is kind of a tab structured solution. And what's nice about this here is this is where you start having all the information on your home, right? You can come in under your settings, and here you can set up a budget. You can set up how you want to be communicated. Are we in gallons versus 100 cubic feet? How do you want your home page to display? What's more interesting is how do you want communication back to you? Do you want communication back to you in a text? Do you want an email? Do you want an IVR? Do you want it push notifications? All of that information is available. And if you notice there to the left, it could be done for outages, billings, budgets, Connect Me, services, leak alerts. All these capabilities are done through this, right? They can even set a budget. So let's just say they don't want to use more than $100 worth of water, right, or $200 worth of water. If so, tell me when I've gotten to 50%, or tell me when I've gotten to 75%, or set your own number. So it'll send them depending on what you put up there, the email notification, the text, or however you want that. Payment, payment information, you can put all your credit cards up here, and you can start setting up automatic pays if you wish, or even if you do a pay-as-you-go from your phone, you can go in there and basically pay your account on your phone. What's nice about the pay-as-you-process piece of it is now you've eliminated them having to drive out there, drive back, drive out, drive back, because, hey, what happens if they've gone out there and tried to shut off Frank's water, but Frank's smart and puts his car over the meter pit? Then I can't turn it off, right? I gotta come back the next day. But Frank tells, I know you're gonna be back the next day, so I'll just leave it out there. So now you're making multiple trips. That's accumulating time and money for the utility.
And quick question, is that an option the district can take and engage in the
Pay-as-you-go?
pay-as-you-go?
Absolutely.
Or not? I mean, it goes back to the same question. Obviously, I'm hypersensitive now to cybersecurity. We got credit card information stuff there now, so y'all really need to give us some help there with our IT people to see that we do have the security that's necessary.
Absolutely.
I like the feature,
Yeah,
but at the
absolutely.
same time, it's a red flag today.
Yeah. You know what, in today's environment, I could see that being a concern, but, yeah, we take absolute, the software folks that we have are our security people, and they're constantly working on that,
I can see the total benefit of having pay-as-you-go just on the cut down of work for staff in-house.
Yeah, absolutely. People look at it this way. The guys or the people that get cut off on a regular basis are typically the folks that are on a set income or just can't afford to pay those $50 reconnection fees over and over and over. But if I had the ability to put 20 bucks in there right now and then maybe another 20 bucks later, down the month or whatever, to keep that meter open and keep it flowing, now you're saving, now you're letting the customer manage it themselves. So it's an advantage, right? So they also...
And somebody can just pay their whole bill there instead of mailing something or coming in the office, they can just say, okay,
Yeah.
I'll just pay my balance due here.
Yeah, they absolutely can. What we do is we set up an API with the utility and the bank and verify that so it's immediate. So once the funds are paid, it literally takes care of it immediately. It doesn't wait like 24 hours.
My process, when I take online reservations, that just goes through, everything's online. I use my own credit card processing company, but then it goes through authorized.net for my online transactions. How does this work? Maybe I'm getting too much into the weeds, but at the same time, how does this work? Somebody wants to make a payment online, does that go directly to the districts and their processing
what we
company?
do-
Or
what we
what are,
do-
or, sorry, is there any fees associated with that we should talk about now?
So there is a setup fee that we have included in our proposal to have that function. It's a one-time setup fee, and that is with the software, the bank, and the utility. And it's set up to communicate somewhat, and that's going too far in the weeds for me, but it's definitely set up.
Is there a monthly fee,
No monthly fee.
processing fee for this? You use a credit card, there's a fee.
I haven't seen pay-as-you-go, it's new. But what we do is we work with your billing integration, and we integrate with your billing team. So I don't know if you have a fee now for credit card payment, or?
There's a fee because we don't have it directly with us, so it's an independent consultant that is taking care of those credit card payments. But since we're working also with the depository agreement, that's one of the things that we're requiring, that they can offer us something. We already talked with some banks, and they're offering this, but within a monthly fee. So if this is something that we could integrate, that means that we could avoid the bank fee.
So right now, the district's just using another company to handle the transactions, and they're attaching a service fee to the customer?
Correct.
That needs to be
$3
looked at.
fee.
That's such a big thing right now. Such a competitive thing right now. I think the district really needs to be involved with that because somebody's making a ton of money off of it.
It's a
We're
third
working on
party,
that,
it's kind of-
yeah.
It's more of a design for, because the fees associated with that, to take the credit card, that 3% cost the district that money on, so the,
Not necessarily. The credit card company turns around and assesses a service fee to the customer.
Yes.
And the district doesn't do that 3% normal. But at the same time, it can be a pretty high thing that you're hitting your customers with. Like
Yeah.
Cameron County right now, $10, $20.
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah, no,
convenience,
that's-
it's more of a
that's
convenience
some-
for a guy that's out of town than it is a regular pay.
Yeah, that is something we can definitely work out and work with the city if that's the process they want to go with.
My limited knowledge is it's a lot of the things, companies are going that way now to offset
Sure.
that. But, my knowledge is also you really have to look at them all because I don't think, my experience is that you can't slough it off and say, well, the customer's going to pay this fee. It's a service fee, just like you would do with Ticketmaster or anybody else. At the same time, you have to be careful of that, my position, as a district would, as far as what fee they're passing on to the customer.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that we can, again, address. We have a integration specialist that will be on the project. She can help work with the billing company and maybe something that.
Yeah, I got us into the weeds, we'll move on.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
I get what you're saying. I tend not to pay the ones online that I got a big fee on, so I'm kind of the same way. So definitely something we can look at.
Yeah, and as of right now, I don't see that for what we've done with other customers, there is no monthly fee. It's a one-time setup. We set it up and then give the customer access to the
Because
payment.
basically, it's going to go back to your billing,
Yeah.
so that it takes it off your books too, so.
But we can dive into deeper.
There's a transaction fee of some sort to somebody there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the customer can see their usage. They can compare hourly versus daily versus monthly, even seasonally. So they've got the option of seeing how much water they're using during certain seasons, summer versus winter, so forth, so on. If they're in gallons, obviously they can keep it there. But the nice part is you've got a projected bill, season bill. As far as their billing is concerned, here's where they can come in and see their bill. They can actually view the bill. They have the ability to pay it now, as you see here. They can see history, as well as all the recurring. They could set up, in this case, you can actually view the bill, and then this bill is set up to look like the bill that it produced from Laguna Madre. So they would come up with their logos and their information, and it'd be set up for that. There it goes. It takes a little while, but there it is. And so they'll be able to see their bill online. So that's pretty nice.
So where the Wheeler Systems is, that would be the Laguna Madre logo, that they would know. That's what that's for.
And then they can budget my bill, go in there and set the budgets again, as I mentioned. No, that was earlier. See their budget versus their usage, their billing inquiries, and then payment locations. So if there's multiple payment locations, they'll be able to look at it here, view it online. Where they're all at, where can I go pay? So all the information's here. Do you guys have more than one? Just one?
Oh, yes.
Any questions for
Can
you
you
guys?
show him the cost of the software, the entire software?
Yeah. Do you guys want to still continue going down this route with this? What do you think so far?
I think the outages is good. I think that's a good, for.
It's your show, take us there.
For outages, for things that come up in an emergency, as the outages come up, you can put on the system where that water outage is, what area it's affecting. They'll be able to pull it up and see if their meters, like where they're in that outage area. So for that emergency, you have the current outages. You can also do plans. So if you guys are planning on doing a water line repair, something that's going to have water cut off to a certain area, you can put that on there ahead of time so that the customer knows, okay, and then you can put a blurb on the home screen, hey, water outage, and then they can go in and see exactly where it's going to be, what area it covers, how many meters are affected. So it helps you guys to let the customers know that you're going to be without water for an hour, 2 hours.
Can be used as an informational system to where you're planning to shut off the water for a period of time so you can send out that notice to whomever might be
Whoever's gonna
impacted.
type. Yeah, whoever's going to type.
So we're currently sending a notice to all the subscribed customers. So in this case, let's say that we put the announcement on the website, can we just put a link of this information and they can go in, look into more information
As long
into
as
the
they set
detail?
it up, but if you give them the link, then they have the opportunity to go ahead and
To
set
go
up
in
their
there.
account right there.
Okay.
Now,
So-
keep in mind, there's emails notifications in here. Remember I went back and I showed you outages and all that stuff? So this would be one of them.
Yeah, you could send them an email as well.
So basically, the customers may be able to set up the alerts for those.
So in the customer setup piece of it, I'll go back to
Or
it.
a text, depending on how they want it.
Right.
preferences.
Mm-hmm, that's pretty good.
If we go into settings,
Tempted you.
here is where an outage, if they've got a text, they've got an email or whatever, as soon as you set up an outage in the consumer portal on the utility side, it literally will, you dominate this specific area, it'll reach out to those customers and let them know.
Okay.
Well, we basically need somebody full-time to monitor one
Good
employee.
question. Good
I mean, it
question.
just, it does so many neat things, but I mean, to watch this all the time, it looks to me like somebody's gonna have to do it.
Well, think
glad you
about
asked that
this,
question.
like, for example, the issues that we're having on a monthly basis, it's like close to 1,000. So we're still taking care of those issues. And at this point, it will be something that it will create a list. On this case, right now, what we're doing, everything is manual, so we're getting the books and making those assumptions or verification manually. So there's a group of people already working on those issues. The
like
difference
the
will be that
interviewer to
everything
answer the
will be
question.
available electronically.
Yeah.
That would be a great advantage.
I think that's about the daily
It's not working.
So will we dedicate one of those people for monitoring this?
Yeah,
for
well,
leaks.
we're already working on this, and the advantage with this, it will be like, actually, we could save one person to do other maintenance stuff, because we have 2 meter readers.
So we don't have to hire anybody to?
No,
You're
no.
asking about,
It seems like this system can alarm anybody, in particular to the billing or the meter readers or
It would-
customer service.
it would alleviate
It will
the
send an
workload.
alarm.
What
So,
about,
yeah,
what about
on
tracking?
the distribution side
Wait a
software, so that.
minute, we haven't got the answer to the question yet.
Yeah,
Staff has
yeah,
been
So,
trying to answer
the
your question.
software-
I'd like,
The software on their side looks a little different than the consumer portal. So this is what your customers see. The software on their side, if there is something going on with the meter, let's say no flow or leak, it detects a large leak or something, it's gonna, when it sends over that read, it's also gonna send an
Sandra,
alert.
how many
So they're
calls,
gonna-
more or
when they
less,
come
do
in
you
in
do
the
per
morning,
month
They're gonna have a page
on
that say,
Halo?
okay, there's certain things going on in your system that you need to take a look at or maybe address. And you can pick who you want, that's also gonna send an email, to send that email to. So if you just want Joel to do large leaks and no flows or reverse flows, and then you want to pass along small leaks and something else, so you can distribute it, or you can just have one person that comes in and pulls that work order sheet, and then they say, okay, you guys go check this area, and you go check this area, or that type of thing.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to add on top of that, we have what we call a network operations center. Our NOC is in Boston or in Middleborough, Massachusetts. And we're constantly monitoring the health and the system ourselves. Granted, as I mentioned earlier, we come in and we're going to want to make one of them a professional at this, right? Or more than one, anybody that volunteers or is tasked to do that. But we also, Mueller also stands behind our product and we're monitoring as well. So we want y'all to be the professionals, but we're going to be behind it, making sure you're doing everything right. So if anything does happen, we know about it.
so back to the original question, is it gonna take an individual person to do that? I was hearing some of what staff was saying. We can shift people around and all that, but it would be just a decision made as to whom would be getting these notices, information. It doesn't, I'm perceiving that you don't need somebody standing there watching the screen, to see what's going on. You're gonna get notices.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, you get notices sent to you, and so those alerts are directed to whomever is designated to go ahead and deal with
And it
them.
can be
Am I
one
correct?
person and then they distribute or they handle. We want to, it's not one of those systems where you're gonna put the system in and walk away so we never have to do anything else.
Well, you
In
got a
our
question?
environment, that's not gonna happen.
well, I have a comment. I think it's going to be the same,
The billing.
but in immediate time. Instead of waiting 30 days to address the issue, the concern, the complaint, or whatever, we're going to get the alert today, and we're going to address it today, instead of 15, 20 days from now,
Yeah.
as we do now. I think that's gonna be the big difference.
So I think to answer your question, is the utility has the authority or the ability, it's going to be a management change, right? They're going to gather a lot of data that's coming in. Now they've got to make a decision where that data is going to and who's going to monitor and address it. The system has the ability to provide prioritizing. So we can, as she said earlier, you can prioritize the data going to certain people. So they can say, Joel gets this, or Mr. Galvan gets this, or San Juan gets this, and they can run it from there.
But I do think that you need a proprietary person to send that out.
So
So that they
customer-
receive the information and they determine, because somebody's got to,
So
code that in.
during the implementation of this and the training and the setup, we will set somebody up with like mandatory rights or user rights for everything.
Right.
And then we have folks that are just viewers that cannot change things. In the process of setting this up, we'll determine who that's going to be, who's going to have that power, and then who's going to also be selected to have these individual bits of information. But keep in mind, typically who's always going to be in the software is the folks that are handling the bills, right? They're going to have this in front of them 24/7. And so they're going to be able, if a customer walks up, and if you walk up and I say, I want to see my bill, he's going to be able to go into my bill and actually see it and see my data usage to the day. And so that information's there. So those are the folks that are going to have visual most of the time.
I'm seeing this as a tremendous positive marketing opportunity for the district, taking what Joel said, that y'all will see what's happening, and we can turn around and tell the customer for a change, you got a leak, or we have a leak in this area, instead of the customer coming back and saying, why have I got a big bill? You know, we can turn this in such a positive.
That's never happened, has it?
Yeah, you can.
So you're
you can
informing the
immediately
customer that, you know, there's a problem, and it's after the meter.
Yeah.
So you can determine that, correct? It's
Absolutely.
after the meter, it's on their side of responsibility.
With that being said, Mr. Wells, we want to be proactive
Proactive.
instead of reactive.
Yes.
We want transparency,
Yeah.
you know, like that. There's no issues with the customers. I mean, there's always going to be issues, but if we can limit them with this system, I think it'll be a thumbs up for the district.
But
This
you would be
gives you the
the,
ability
you would be
to
the
test.
hero to go in there and say,
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, you've got a leak. We've detected it, and it's only been going on X amount of hours.
Yes, sir?
And so he can go in and fix his hung-up toilet or broken pipe.
We just have an issue, I'm sorry, that the customer that usually gets a $12 bill, now he
yeah.
got it $1,200 bill. And so we noticed about the leak 30 days after. The first thing that he told us is, how come you don't have a water leak detection? I'm at a
Yeah.
fixed income.
Yeah, we have a one-time forgiveness of the sewer part of it.
He doesn't have sewer,
It was in irrigation.
it's irrigation, so it's just
Irrigation.
water, he needs to
So,
pay for
You
it.
know, we're, the district eating that lost consumption.
No,
Well,
It's
on those that
forgiven.
you're talking about, yes. If it's a domestic, yes.
Right.
but not for irrigation, water.
Catch it a lot faster.
I'm just looking at the dollars and cents that,
So you're gonna catch it really fast, so you can let them know right away, and then instead of a $1,200 bill, it might have been a $40 bill. But
Correct.
you're gonna catch it really quickly. And the other thing too is, as soon as you get those alerts in the morning when that sheet comes up, you can send them an email and say, hey, we detected that your water usage is more, or maybe a possible
credit card
leak,
plan.
and we're working to get somebody over there to work on it. So that builds trust with your customers and makes them feel like you guys are really taking care of me and watching out for me.
that's the positive PR I was referring to.
Yeah.
what about is there any information that needs to get backed up or saved or?
So it's on the cloud, it's on
On
the server.
cloud.
We use a company called Internet that has, it's spread over 5 different states. So for disaster recovery, that way the data is there all the time. What we do is, depending on what the utility wants, if they want backup once a year, once every 2 years or whatever, we'll do it and send it to them. So whatever they want. But the data's there, it's live. The data's live, it's there. They can download it at any given time if they want.
You want to talk about the district meter?
So one of the advantages also that we have with our software for the utility side is this district meter area. And And what this does basically gives the utility the ability to have a master meter or label a master meter that's monitoring just imagine all those chairs are meters, right? So if 1 million gallons are going through my meter, all those meters better equate 1 million gallons. If they don't, what's the water loss? And so that's what this software piece does it. And that's included in the software that they're going to be getting. So it's nice because this keeps track of non-revenue water, NRW, right? Where's your water loss? Where is it at? And then maybe they can concentrate on looking for their infrastructure to see where the leaks are at.
Just gives you a real quick visual of what's going on with your system. For TCEQ reports, the ones that you have to let them know what you treated and what you billed for, and this gives you just right there.
Fred, could this system also help us generate reports for AWWA for further grants and stuff like that?
No, it's not a grant writer.
No,
but
but
you can
numbers
pull data
wise.
from it, absolutely. So what's nice about this is that it keeps track of 100% of your infrastructure. So now they have at their fingertips how many gallons are running through the whole system, either cycle 1, 2, or 3, or all three. They can literally know on a day-to-day basis how much water is going through it.
Any questions on what we've got over so far?
Sounds good.
I'm going to move on. So again, we talked about growing your capabilities without replacing your system. I think we kind of went over that, but basically that's what we're offering you. The system you can keep growing with and not have to go back and change what's in the ground. You can keep upgrading and adding different verticals with the same infrastructure. Again, that's the migratable MIDO. That's what the radio looks like that's attached to the meter. That is the one that is AMR or AMI ready. It's the two-way radio, so it does firmware upgrades. It is a non-proprietary meter radio, so it can be retrofitted on other meters that have an encoded register, which means it has the technology of today's meters.
To ours.
Not many. Most of yours are the RTRs, which is a pulse meter. So there's not many out there that have that.
Well, I think that's going to be an important question here. Bottom line is, what's this puppy going to cost? You know, some point we're going to have to take and, visit that.
Yeah. we
Is
can
what
visit
it-
that.
Yeah.
We could definitely talk to
Yeah.
that.
We have the ROI that you requested. We have that ready to go, so.
Awesome. Does it make any difference? I see that has a location to be affixed to the meter. Does it need to be that way, or can it be laying on the ground? Right now, our little sensors or senders are just laying on the ground.
What we do when we install, we have what's called a pit hanger.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we want to get that to the top of the box so that you get that longer range and that longer distance. So we'll hang it at the top of the box.
Still inside the box, but it's just like a stake going down beside the meter.
It's actually on a little pit hanger that connects to the top of the bottom of the lid. So it hangs right under the lid.
Okay, so when you flip it up,
It's on-
that's what you see there. So
Yeah.
will it fit on the existing boxes that we have?
Yes. There's a few that we may have to do some things to, and that's why we came out and did the site survey, so we would kind of know when we quoted the install.
I'm sure our staff is very good at engineering
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
Yeah, yeah. You tend to make use of what little space you have, so.
Thank you.
So again, I think we've gone over these, and I don't want to keep beating a dead horse because I want to get on to other things. But we feel like what your utility is having issues with, and the things that we've talked about, and that we've dived into to hear the concerns and the customer relationship that you guys want to continue to have. We feel like what we're offering and what we proposed on our RFP is going to lead you and get you to that direction, and let you keep growing and continuing to add things that will help you and your customers. And then we'll leave detection, so I'll do that. And then Fred touched on this, but this is something that's on the roadmap that Mueller is working on now, that will be coming out in the near future. It's pressure monitoring. So, which is great for if you have think you might have a leak from the meter to the house, they're gonna know, because the pressure monitoring is gonna let them know that the pressure's dropped, or, if you're having problems with your distribution, the pressure's too high, and those type of things, it's gonna let you be able to monitor the pressure from the meter on.
But more importantly, pressure is very important,
Yeah.
right, for a distribution system. If it's too high, what happens? What's your
Blow
point?
lines.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And if it's too low, then what happens?
My wife gets mad.
That's correct. You're absolutely right. So it's very, very important to have pressure monitors, sensors throughout distribution.
So-
And so what we're doing is we've developed this, and this is going to start going under our network here in the future. And if y'all want to, if they find it advantageous, they can lay a few of those out in far areas from their pumps and the service centers and monitor the pressure.
So this is another apparatus
Another piece that can be added.
that can be added to the Mueller
Future.
system. And so these could be distributed
Yeah,
wherever,
strategically areas that they
to
find.
kind of look at, it would be kind of system-wide, or the system that is monitoring.
Yeah.
Well, then that would translate automatically to whatever meters are within that radius of that.
So the
sensor.
collectors are already up, right? We're taking advantage of that umbrella, and all this technology can be reported to under the same umbrella and communicated back to the software.
So this is just a new apparatus that's coming out that you're telling us now will be available in the future.
Yes.
It's not anything discussed with the proposal that you gave us right now.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is the future. That's part of, talking about future proofing. And y'all mentioned about how and why would I want to update the firmware on an endpoint. This is an example. So if I release this and the city decides to purchase this in the future, 2-3 years down the line, we update the firmware to accept this endpoint.
Well, they're not going to be expensive, so that shouldn't be a problem.
No comment.
And then, just to give you, we kind of went over Mueller's been in the water business for 150 years. But they offer not just residential meters, but we also have all types of meters, commercial, fire hydrant meters, vertical turbine meters, fire rated meters. So you have a broad spectrum when you're looking at Mueller of different kind of meters, not functionally meters. And then last but not least, I just want to say, I think we've taken what you guys have shown as concerns. I've talked with your staff. I've watched a lot of your videos to hear things that you're doing within your system. I think conservation is important to you, customer service, capturing your non-revenue water, and giving you a system that in 2 years, 3 years, you're not going to be having to look at again to push that out. So I hope that I answered most of your questions, concerns. Any questions you have, please feel free at any time. I think we're going to step into the ROI, but anything that comes up, if you think of something, let me know.
Any questions on the technology on the system before we move over? Because we've got a handout. It's just a simple, what we're going to talk about is an ROI based on the results of the RFP, okay? And so what I did is I used a pretty basic solution, and I can explain it to you guys while you're looking at it, what we're looking at.
Good copies?
All right, so, this microphone's on. So the first page is the complete all 3 cycles. If you look at item A, which is a cost estimate over 10 years, you're looking at $2.259 million. Now let me explain what that covers. The 1.6 and 522 equate to 2.1 million. That's the full system. Then there's annual cost over 10 years of $114,000. That is cost of the hosting software as well as the consumer portal. So there's an annual fee for those. Over the 10 years, you're looking at $114,000. So that's what, $11,490 a year, right? To give you guys the software both for the utility and the consumer. That equates to $2.2 million over 10 years. The savings estimate that we came up with is your meter readers, as well as your vehicles and your service calls. That's coming up to $1.63 million. And how that is processed is basically taking your meter reader's salary, their benefits, along with the vehicle maintenance over 10 years, along with service calls. We heard earlier today that they had, how many? 5,000 per year. This is a very conservative number. Actually, most of these are all conservative because the reason being is I am not eliminating positions. I'm just basically reducing or restructuring that position somewhere else and dropping down the cost a little bit.
Wait. If the position's not being reduced,
It is, well, it's reduced in that function, right?
but it's because, you're saying basically it's just going to be moved, that position is going to be moved elsewhere, Carlos?
It's up to them. The way I do this, I don't eliminate the position. They have the ability to do that if they want to.
All right. And that's really not a savings.
Well, what happened right now is that there are meters that we're not able to keep up within the same month. So having that extra person, will take care of that monthly maintenance the way we're supposed to be doing the testing and some other maintenance in the water distribution area.
But to pick it up, there's going to be some hard line decisions to be made. And this presentation is, someone, don't leave me. You were talking, I'm replying.
Yes,
There's going to be some
I'm
hard
here.
line decisions to be made. If this is going to be a savings, then that has to be identified as savings. To shift that expense to another area doesn't save the overall money to the district. So
what I've
it's
done
going to be some hard decisions to make, or some cooperative, creative thinking on how to take and turn this into a true savings.
Right.
Go ahead.
So what I've done here is I've taken the salary of 4 employees, reduced it to 2.
And
That way it's
information.
kind of a 50%, but
And you-
I'm not eliminating everything.
And you got that information from the district,
Yes, sir.
of the current
Yeah,
expenses?
all this information has come from what we're quoted you at price versus what the utilities data is, their employee salary and their water production and loss and all that.
What about the service call,
What about
the
that?
897,000, how you come up with that?
So that comes up with a $25 service fee. And basically, you take that over the 10-year price, and based on how many service calls. I think I put 900 calls per month. Somewhere on there. And they said they were doing 1,000. So I was a little conservative there.
That's just the ratings.
And so it takes that, and then it's a percentage. I don't eliminate it, because I want to be as conservative as I can on this. I don't want to completely eliminate it. I still want to show some cost on it. And then distribution loss, it is based on how much water is produced versus billed, and then I take a percentage of that. And then that's over 10 years, you're looking at $2 million of loss, water loss. Same thing goes with the meter and accuracy. I take the meters that you have in ground and take the accuracy. Of that.
Can we back up to the water loss, distribution loss?
Yes.
You're saying $288,000 per year in savings because you're going to reduce the
Using,
losses that were occurring in the distribution system, right?
correct.
These are losses that occurred before it went through the customer's meter, right?
Correct.
So basically, this is water that's been processed by the district, put into the distribution lines, got lost, and was never billed for.
That's correct. So how do I come up with the number?
Yes.
I used their rate of production.
All right.
So they produce 1,000 gallons, it was $1.50 per 1,000 gallons. And so I used that rate over the amount, the percentage of water loss. And a prime example is, like Joel said, you've got a 6-inch line under a deck, or dock, excuse me, and it's just going and going and going. It's just that's just dollars going down the pipe.
Now, to me, I see that as real savings, because basically Joel can quantify what that amount is that's not being billed, but they are producing it. So I can see a direct savings if you can reduce that amount.
It's a direct
Yeah.
expense of production
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not being recouped.
It's not very recouped,
Sale.
or you're not selling it, because when you sell it at a higher rate, so not only the direct cost, but the profit's gone
Yeah,
too.
so essentially, that number came from the numbers that the district gave you as far as
Yes, sir.
what's produced, what's billed,
Yes, sir,
and
what's in the middle.
what's in the middle.
Yeah, so I took 100% of that number,
Yeah.
right? That, whatever that number is, let's just say, I think it was, let's just use 100 million gallons as a number. I took 100 million gallons, then divided that by 3. What is water loss during water production? Because you do have backwash and all that, and that's very low. That's 1 to 2%, somewhere on there. And then the remainder is 98%. So how much of that is going through the meters? How much of that is going through distribution, right? The majority of that's going through distribution. Their meters are, I put 10% to be on the conservative side, because we don't know how much is going through there.
So for all the bells and whistles of the meter reading system, the most direct benefit the district could have from Mueller would be leak detection.
Well, meter reading's a huge benefit.
I'm not discounting that,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about return on investment.
Yes, sir. That's
Return
that's
on
gonna help
investment.
big time.
Yeah, leak detection, well.
This is where we separate ourselves from everybody else, because we have the ability to do
Well, I'm
this.
sitting here looking at this, I can sit here and discuss, personnel, and, we're not cutting them out, we're shifting them, where's the savings, where's the expense? But at the same time, when you
Water
got down to
loss.
the bottom line, well, I'm sorry.
I was gonna add that one thing we haven't talked about is water theft. A lot of the meters, especially in the island, are inside the gates, the fences, and there's been a few times where we actually have found where they pulled the meter and directly to the angle valve, filling up a pool or stuff like that. So, and I'm sure it happens more often than not. So with this system, going back to the meter, it'll let us know when there's stop flow and whatnot, and we can quickly address that. And it goes back to
How would you know if they diverted around the meter? How would you know that, other than nothing flowing through the meter at that time?
It'll give us the alert when they shut off the water to remove the meter and connect to the angle valve.
No
We have,
flow.
one of the alerts we have on our meters is
No flow.
How would they turn it off, other than going back to the,
The angle valve. See, because on the island, they've taken all the alley, and the meters are inside the property and locked in.
right, I understand.
So all they have to do is close it, remove the meter.
Take the meter out, and then replumb it. and-
Put a pipe in it or something.
So they
Wow.
can understand a little bit more.
You know what I've seen a lot of people do?
Tell them our
Take the
issue that we
register
had,
off.
where one
They
customer
leave the
was
meter in
doing
place.
illegal
They just take the register off.
connection.
So it's not reading.
Yeah. And our registers that we're promoting in this solution has 2 warnings on it: heavy magnet or a register removal. And both of those will come up through our system and let the utility know. Another way of theft is a heavy magnet. The way the chamber works on a water meter is a nutating disc that spins a magnet that then couples with another magnet on the register. Somebody is theft enough to put a heavy magnet on it, it'll hold that nutating disc in a position where water's just running through it. Well, our register actually has sensors on our magnet to notify the utility that that's being happened, that that's happening.
That's on your meter, not the meters we have today. Thank you.
That 2.1, that's just for the radios, correct? 2.1.
Meters is radios installation, software.
That includes all new meters too?
It includes retrofits and new meters.
So So you can retrofit what we've got, we don't have to buy all.
Not everything, no, sir.
See, that's what I'm wondering, how much more we have to spend on meters?
Look at the last page.
I seen that.
Yeah.
That's what scared me.
That shows you.
So we'll have to buy the encoders for the old,
If you wanted to retrofit the meter, then you would have to have that encoder register, which from our survey and something, we don't have a lot of those now. So we would have to do that for that.
And how much more is that gonna
I
run?
got a question, how many
I
of
have
those
the meter and the.
need retrofitting?
Not the meter, the radio. included
Out in the field?
in our price.
How many,
Out in the field, we'd have to look the data to know how many have actually been retro or changed out to the HRE.
I haven't here. I haven't.
Not anything that should happen, but it's something that can be done
But that's gonna be an added cost, correct?
to get that encoded register. Everything else is
And,
included.
and what does that run per meter?
Do you know how much a register?
Out of the 6,400 meters that we have, the more older than 11 to 15 years old is 4,919. So,
I think the total there for retrofit 5 years ago was 800 and.
That we can retrofit,
That you can retrofit.
and all the rest have to be new ones?
All the rest are new and have been included and everything. And so has the radio on that.
Have been included in this price? All but 800 have been included in this price?
Yep.
so what's the cost of the encoders?
Typically, you're paying, what, 70, 80 bucks?
So another $60,000.
If that's the way you choose
Right.
to go.
The solution we're providing you is a brand-new solution, right? And getting your system up to par. I think at the point right now, you folks have a technology that's what's called a pulse register. Now, I think you've heard this from the city before. You've got issues where you have a register saying one thing and the endpoint saying another. And the reason that's being done is because you've got an old technology in a pulse register that is not reliable. So that being said, you're also losing money.
Have you given us any, at some point, I would like to see, the cost of a new register and the meter reader and everything on it, a new meter. When we're talking about $70 to retrofit, but at the same time, you got labor to install, you still have the existing wear and tear. So what would a new meter cost?
When the city got our proposal, right, with the RFI, they did a RFP, excuse me?
Yeah, we
and got
have all this
proposals
information
from how many
here.
vendors? 5 vendors, 6 vendors?
7 vendors.
And out of the 7, not only did we provide the best solution, but we came in the lowest. So they've
Yeah,
got
we
all
have
the
all of
dollars.
that
They have
information.
everything for
You
you.
got all the individual costs, what I just said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we won't tie it up here now.
Yes.
Yeah, she's got everything.
If possible, can we get also the cost of adding some of these encoders and the labor estimates for doing that as well?
And
Yes,
again,
of
I don't
course.
know what our competitors will charge you for their encoder. I know what we would charge for just a register, so, they may charge you more, they may charge you less, I have no idea. I can't speak for them.
But we don't expect you to. At the same time, that's something we have to look at
Understood?
and look at what we're doing. If we're, like I think I said before, we got a horse looking for a different saddle, and so we don't quite know if it's going to fit. So
Yep.
I don't know. We'd have to do a lot of discussion, and you'd have to tell us, and
Yes, we do.
Carlos, that
We
you'd
just got all
have
this
to tell.
information just like you did. So once we revise it and look at it, there'll be questions and then we'll look into them.
Well,
Because this information, I just got it like right now.
But you got
And-
this already.
Yeah, yeah.
And-
No, but he's
We
talking
can-
about
we can
that
reply-
information.
Yes.
Right. but we can
My
reply
question
to it.
is that it's really more in the sense that we're talking, I'm discussing individual meters, what it costs, so then we need to look at what it would take to do. You wouldn't do it at the field, you take certain meters that you would retrofit or upgrade, and then you take them to the field and replace them, then if those meters are all right, then you bring them back to retrofit to the encoder or whatever it is. So, I'd like to kind of have a idea of what that process would take. You know, if we're staying with, you know, keeping some of the same horses, and then we'll have to discuss, this is for 3 cycles. And so we can discuss single cycle or 2 cycles, or give that some conversation.
Do you also have that information for the 1 cycle cost?
We do have this ROI for the island only.
I guess we would go to staff to see where
They want to go.
where their recommendation is, you know, where are the issues, where are the problems?
Yeah, that's what we
That's our
were
main one, South Padre, so.
very interested in getting just South Padre Island.
Under this, there's more problems with South Padre. Well, this is if we do just South Padre.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I will say, folks, we discussed it, you presented to us, thank you.
I hope we're answering your question.
Oh, yeah.
And if we're not, please.
Excellent,
I'm-
excellent
I'm,
presentation.
you know, I'm actually intrigued because you're bringing a really exciting product and coming in at a low bid. I mean,
It is,
We just gotta
it is
decide
coming
if
out
we
a
want
little
to spend the money or
bit.
not.
Yeah, one of our tasks now is that we have to determine, do we have all the money to do this? And that's something we need to get with staff on and personnel, and they will give us exact figures, not any, I don't want any financial surprises, of course. I don't think anybody else here does either. So that's what we need to figure out with staff. We
Yeah, you
certainly
should-
have a very exciting
Yeah,
product.
you sold us on you, we just gotta decide if we want to spend the bucks.
Oh, we're gonna spend the bucks.
Well,
It's just a
How
matter.
much? Just how
Right,
much?
it's just a matter of how
May I
much, and
bring
that's
your-
something we need to work out.
let me
with
bring your attention to the 2 proposals or RIs that we've looked at, and I'm looking at the rate of return, the calculated rate of return on South Padre only is 35.48%. 3 cycles is 12.81%.
Right.
So if we tackle the real problem child first, those savings would help fund some other cycles.
Look at their doing, there's more problems on South Padre than the other places combined.
That's right.
What happened is that the South Padre Island is bringing us the biggest revenue.
It's huge. I mean, that,
That is to start one cycle.
Yes,
If
the
we
largest
have to
meter,
the
yes.
revenue that you would.
Look at it all, if we're
recoup from the
going to make
island
those decisions,
Would just
got to have that.
go on.
Yeah, it looks like. the
Yeah, I'd like to
island
set
is-
up a separate fund for that, for that cost savings.
We're going to plant more turnips.
Well, why is there more problems on the island?
The reason
We-
being that they do have a variety of meter sizes from 3/4 to 8-inch meters.
The biggest meter, the oldest meters, the ones that are bringing us the more revenue.
Right.
So,
There's more things to go wrong,
yes,
basically?
so that's why if we do the island, we'll be fine for a few
Erosion.
years, yes.
Shifting sand,
With
all
that-
kinds of problems.
With that said, you know where the bigger problems are.
Yes.
We always identified cycle 3.
We
So
have
can we
always-
take and do a hybrid system even with cycle 1? You know,
Will
I'm
be
still
good.
struggling how we're going to pay for this. I really want to get started with it, but maybe we look at how we can take and start, you know, starting with a hybrid system. But at the same time, I would want to look at, you know, we would not have the true cost savings, if you would, of just the meter readers, for example, because they're still going to have to drive around everywhere and check stuff. So we're going to have to take some hard looks at all of it, in my opinion, and look at it section or cycle by cycle and problem by problem within that cycle, and make the decision, do we fix this part of it now, or do we just fix it all right now?
Right, exactly.
I think if you could look, you know, I sort of discount any savings attributed to meter readers and vehicles and stuff like that. I just don't see that happening.
Unless you're ready to fire them.
Yeah. Where I see the savings are is in the distribution. And what I see here is basically just that savings alone and the cost of the system over 10 years is a zero net gain. So, I mean, it really should cost you nothing at the end of 10 years. What we don't factor in here, though, is the convenience factor to the customer of managing their account. That you can't put a figure to, but that's what's going to sell the project. If you can sell the project and say, look, in 10 years, this system's going to pay for itself, and in those 2 years, you're going to be able to go to your phone and do this,
that's
this,
it.
this,
Everybody
this.
It's standard with pretty much every way,
Yeah.
every
Once
service
they
being
get
provided
example.
now.
Exactly. I mean, that's the way I see this happening, because the people out there aren't going to believe that we're going to let 2 people go because we don't need them to read meters anymore. I mean, that's a hard sell, but you can sell the savings and the loss of water, and you can sell the convenience. That's what's going to sell it to the whole community. And I don't think you can do it just to the island and not the rest.
It's selective, it's selective.
Because the whole district is going to be paying for it.
Right.
So if you try to isolate the island versus the mainland, I don't think it's right. You know, if we want to tackle this, let's tackle it all. But I think people, and the majority of the people are, you know, if they do texting, they can manage their accounts. And there's just a lot of pluses to being able to do that.
Guy from the island will say, I can look mine up on my phone and you can't. Yeah, that's exactly what they'll say.
But yet everyone's paying for the same system.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, it's not getting the same service.
Again, the selling point is what I touched on earlier, the marketing opportunity, that you're saving money to the consumer. And that's the biggest thing, that they can say, you can be preemptive and say, you have a problem on your side. It's been going on 1 hour. So,
And we can come in and do, if you guys want to invite, customers up and come in, like a couple of times, we can do a workshop to walk them through that same system and show them how they need to get signed up. We would be more than glad to do that. I would be more, I'm speaking to all those, but I would be more than glad to do that with your customers and help them, just kind of see how it works and give them a little help in getting them started to make sure that everybody that we can get on gets on.
service after the sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
So, and then I know that you had asked me about the finance package, and so I think Derek over at Capital Government, did he get everything back to you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The options, let's say that if we don't touch fund balance because of, just to be conservative on the financial movements that we're doing, governmental capital will offer a solution that it will cost us $125,000 per year, annual payment, 10 payments, or that will be only for the island, or $255,000 annual payment, 10 years for the whole system. So basically, if we just do the island at this point, it will be about $12,000, per month, and I believe that based on the numbers that we've been seeing, the water loss, and also on the extra expense for operations and maintenance, that will pay it off immediately.
What's the interest rate?
3.1. 1.4.
Well,
In-
we could put a little bit down and finance the rest.
Exactly.
There's also Texas Water Development Board also.
Water Development Board is
We're not getting
4%.
that much out of our CDs.
Mhm.
We've been seeing that they've come in lower, and that's why.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had great luck with government capital. When they do annual, quarterly, or monthly, but annual is what most folks. So it's nice you put the system in, or you
Yeah,
can
it's
just
at
have
the
budget.
it's at the end of the year.
Can
So
we
you
do
have-
some of that revenue.
Paid now?
You have a chance to recoup some of that non-revenue water, so because you don't have that payment due till the end of the first year.
And just to add maybe to a little bit of the savings that we're gonna have here, each month, each meter has the potential of being visited 5 different times. When we do the drive-by, the verification, check transmitter or register for non-consumption, and test meter, and then a swap out. So each meter has the potential to be visited 6 times by utility workers.
Please get me.
So imagine the savings on that. With this system, we can figure it out much quicker and address it.
What is the range of the LORAD?
It depends on some factors. It depends on topography. It depends on where the meter is in the box.
So we got the antenna on
Yeah.
the tower in the north end of town.
Yeah.
How far would it read?
Well, I can't give you an exact mileage, but what we did, and I think you might, I don't know, we went over it.
I asked that question earlier.
Using the
Yeah, I think
meters.
I think you had stepped out, but we did a prop study, which means we took all your meter locations, And then we took all your city assets, water towers, buildings, lift stations, anything that you could legally put something on. And we did a prop study to show where we would need that infrastructure to cover all your meters and then some, a little bit for growth. And that's how we came up with the 7 collectors and the 6 repeaters needed to cover everything, all the meters that you have.
For the island,
Yeah,
it
we
was
get
3
$3 plus.
collectors and 2 repeaters.
Okay.
And that gives you the whole lot
And where do those go?
on the water towers.
I mean, where do you, oh, on the water
The higher
towers?
we get them, the better we
Yeah,
want.
free, man.
And that can be expanded with growth.
Yes.
For example, the island grows north, that can be expanded.
It's amazing what we're covering. We're covering areas that are not.
Cell frequencies wouldn't mess with those, would they? Because when we lease to cellular companies, that's not gonna mess with that.
That's RF versus cellular, they're 2 different communications.
And if you think of that bandwidth, you've got a lot of, because it's wide range, you've got a
Right.
lot of, think of a fire hose versus a garden hose.
Mhm.
When you try to put a lot of things through a garden hose, you know, it's hard to get all the water pressure out. When you have a big fire hose, you can put a lot of things through there and it still comes out at speed and with pressure. So that bandwidth gives you a lot of range to get that signal back and forth.
Carlos, that system that we have at this station over here at Los Fresnos, Laguna Vista, where it tells us the water levels over here, is that cellular based or how does that work?
It's an RTU radio system that sends out the signal
SCADA.
from,
You're talking about your SCADA?
right, SCADA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different.
And that's more likely in a, typically that's in a 400 megahertz bandwidth, and we're at a 902, 928. So it's just different bandwidth.
Just curious.
Well, I'm agreeing with Herb, it's gonna be a tough sell if we try to do this just one section, cycle at a time. At the same time, we're going to take some hard looks at what we can afford.
Right.
I've seen some numbers on what we thought, we're projecting what we can do in revenue, but, with this ROI, it would really give us a better idea of what we can actually save to invest with this setup.
Yeah, I mean, the return on investment for the whole thing under my package here, I think has you making money after 5 years.
If the district does a good
Figure it
job.
out.
If-
And the way, like I said, my assumptions.
It has been suggested by staff that, the district can do a little better job of managing all its departments and contribute to the bottom, what I call the bottom line
Sure.
of the district. So it's gonna take some, not just us saying yes or no, spend the money, it's gonna take staff's commitment that, every nickel we're trying to chisel out of expenditures is what's gonna pay for this.
Well, and I think, to his point, Joel's point is how much time you're spending on the meter.
6 visits.
Yeah, that's a lot. So there's a.
No, let me
right,
have it
where
here.
now you can
Thank you.
refocus that.
Then I need to talk to Joel and ask him why he's got another person in the vehicle everywhere he drives. Okay.
Bodyguard.
So,
Got bodyguard.
if we're talking about saving some money, why the heck do you have to have a sidekick with you all the time?
Usually I have Emiliano, we're checking
That's
on
another
backflow.
conversation for later, but it's gonna be those hard questions that's gonna take and make the bottom line work.
Well, it is great that you can take the time spent on addressing the meters and doing the meters and put that towards some of the distribution side repairs and stuff that are going to be needed to fix. So you can take that salary that's over here doing the meters and put them towards another way that's gonna help you find someone else to help.
This package will help. There's no doubt about it.
It's-
And I think y'all know that.
It's an exciting opportunity that could really bring us up to,
Modern world.
to the modern world and a more profitable world. And I don't want to let, $5 get in the way of making $10 later. But at the same time, I don't have the $5 right now.
I think the phone app should be popular.
Sure. Even Mama would do
I
one.
guess we're winding this down, is that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get to it.
So unless the city has any questions for us,
District.
the district? That's a bad habit, I'm sorry.
We just came from TML, so we've been talking to city clerk all week.
Yeah. And one of the funny part is I also manage accounts in Houston, and they're all MUDs, right? So
Yeah.
districts as well. But, yeah.
No, we're good.
If the districts has any questions for us?
No,
We'll adjourn
no,
this
thank you so
workshop
much.
at 11:40 a.m.